Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. We're in our beloved Mig-15 and we've got our final lesson, I believe. So it's a combined lesson. We're going to be looking at the radio equipment and using the radio, and we're going to be using our ARC-15 ADF navigation system to navigate about a map. So Stahl, where do you want to kick off now that we're on the ground?
I'd say we'll start by looking at the radios. Technically you have two parts of that, but on your left rear wall you can see the radio receiver, which in real life will be tuned separately from the radio transmitter on the right side, but Tech apparently decided to make this a little bit easier on the player. So when you're tuning a receiver, you're actually automatically tuning your transmitter as well. If you then play around with your transmitter, technically you can, I believe, diverge from that frequency, but usually there's really no good reason to. So in the back there's really not much to do. You can only see the frequency, which is actually a wave band as it's called. The Russians don't work with frequencies directly in the Mig-15. The frequency range of this radio is between 3,750 and 5,000 kilohertz, which is a wave band between 150 and 200. Now if you want to tune this thing, you will have to look right next to your throttle. You can see this volume and tuning. Two knobs.
Yeah, it's really hard to find, to kind of look at, but okay. I see I can turn that black knob and it turns a tuning wheel of some kind.
Exactly, so there's a volume knob in the top left if you want that, but other than that, you'll usually just use it for tuning. If you open up our kneeboard now with our fancy new PDFs in there, you can have a look at the Russian airfields, where you'll find makeup, ideally.
Russian airfields, a firm makeup. I'm looking at it.
Alright, so in the very top right of the little box you will see 5/158. 158 is the wave number.
Yes.
So if you zoom in closely, you can see there's a scale around the wheel, the tuning wheel.
Yes.
If you tune it up all the way to 158 now, you should be able to talk to the ATC.
Interesting. So let me just get this right. So that is the ATC for Makop Airfield, is that right?
Exactly.
I'm moving now, so that is 155, 156, 157, 15. God, this is really hard because the track IR just will not want to do it. Hang on. I got it, 158. Woo, that was hard. Right, yep.
You can also see your current frequency if you just turn around to your back left. There's also this tuning wheel.
Oh yes, and that agrees at 158. A-firm?
And although, as I mentioned, in real life that wouldn't usually correlate, you also have the radio transmitter in the back right. Alright, so if you turn to the right, right rear of your aircraft, you can see your radio transmitter. You will see another tuning scale there, which you can also turn up and down.
Yep, I see it.
And there's a button next to it, or a knob next to it, is a stop. That is basically to lock it in place and stop any aircraft vibrations or, hard maneuvers you pull or whatever to change your radio frequency.
Should I press that?
You can if you want to.
Okay, I've rotated it right 90 degrees, okay.
Right above that is basically a signal strength indicator. Yeah. So as long as it's somewhere over to the right, you should be good in terms of signal strength. If that goes over to 0 to the left, you're not going to be able to transmit anything.
Ava?
The turning wheel to the right of that is a fine-tuning knob. It also has its own lock to the right.
Shit.
And
okay, yeah, I moved it a tiny bit, but I've got my signal back. I'm okay. I'm good.
Yeah, you can play around with that and see what happens. You can actually see the signal strength go down.
Yeah, I just
and
did
you'll
that.
have to actually set it pretty precisely for the signal strength.
Roger. Well, I've got 3 out of 5 signal strength. I think I'm okay, but carry on.
Yeah, that's what I have as well. And underneath where it says crystal, technically that's for what's it called? A quartz crystal oscillator, which you can remove.
Yeah.
And swap out, but that's not really relevant for the game. So that's the main radio controls. It's a bit complicated, but as I mentioned, Tech has made it somewhat easier by just making the transmitter tune with the receiver automatically.
If, yeah, definitely. I wouldn't like to do that during flight. Can we contact them now then, when we're on the ground?
Sure, go ahead. Just use your radio button.
I'm going to press my radio button, which is for me is hashtag. I'm going to press ground, ATC, F5, make-up is the top one. And I'm going to request a startup. F3, go!
Сократ, 102, запуск.
Yay! You weren't lying, it worked.
Yeah, and as long as I'm on the same frequency, I'm actually getting all of this as well.
Excellent. Okay, that's some basic radio stuff. What do you want to do next?
Next thing is navigation. Particularly if you're playing on a hardcore server as we are right now, you will need to be able to navigate properly. So the main navigation system in the Mig-15 is basically an ADF, an automatic direction finder, which uses non-directional beacons. There's usually 2 per airfield, an outer and an inner one. And there are a few controls in the cockpit that we'll want to familiarize ourselves with. So if you look next to your left knee, there's a single circuit breaker.
Right, yep, I got it. ADF and receiver, yep.
So basically what this switch does, if you have it on ADF, you can hear both radio broadcasts and the Morse code from the radio beacons. If you set it to receive, you can only hear radio broadcasts, and this will be turned off. The Morse code. If you move up to the panel where we tuned the radio earlier, and move slightly forward right next to the throttle, you will see 3 NDB switches. These are presets. They have to be set in the mission editor actually. We cannot do that in the cockpit. One important thing to note about those, there is a little electric motor which is tuning the antenna. If you use those, do not turn on more than one of those ever. You can actually break the electric motor.
Understood.
Now if you move a little bit up and somewhat forward, right above the left UV lamp, you will see a switch that says homing, near and far. What that does basically, it switches between preset mode and manual mode. You're going to use manual mode, so you're going to leave it on far. If you set it to near, you can just use presets. I'm frankly not sure whether there are any presets on this server. That's it for the left side. If you now look over to the right side, right above your UV light rheostats. Now that's where it becomes really interesting, because that's your ADF panel. Now you'll want to start by switching the knob in the bottom right to ANT, which is antenna. It's kind of hidden by the golden wall.
Yeah, got it. I see off at the moment. How
yeah, it's 2 right clicks. You have off, comp, ANT, and loop.
Okay, I've turned it to 2 things to the right, and I'm now getting a radio hiss.
Good. By the way, one important thing to mention also, all of this will not work if you don't have your main ADF power on, which is on your right circuit breaker board in the 3rd row, the 3rd switch from the left. Now the next thing we're going to do is, first of all, if you set it to the antenna position, you actually have to wait a minute or 2 for this thing to warm up, otherwise it's not going to work at all. Another important switch is at the very inner side. It says CW and voice. So that's your telephony and telegraph switch, it's actually called in Russian. You want that pretty much for every beacon in this game. You want it on telephony, which is voice. Next we'll want to turn up the volume so you can actually hear the Morse code properly. The volume is also kind of hidden by the golden valve. You want to turn it all the way to the right.
Alright, stand by, I'm going to try and get around there. Okay, that is turned up.
And then we're going to make sure that we have our ADF and receive button next to a left thigh on ADF, otherwise you're not going to hear anything as mentioned before.
Yep, that's on ADF.
And the homing one above the left UV light on far, otherwise it's all presets. So, now we just have to find a frequency that we want to dial into.
How do we do that? Is that on the knee board?
Exactly, so you want to open up the knee board again.
You do that by pressing and holding the kilo key on the keyboard. Roger. Right.
You can also toggle it, by the way, by pressing right shift and K.
Roger. I'm set in my ways. Where do we want to go?
Let's just go to Krasnodar-Prshovsky, that's our alternate airfield on this server.
Okay, see, radio frequencies.
It's in the center left, basically. It says outer. It's 493 hertz. And with the pink background, you'll see the Morse code, which is, short, long, short, short, pause, long, short, short.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
So, 493 hertz.
493 hertz, yeah.
If you look at the tuning scale, you can see a switch underneath, which has 3 positions. There's 3 different bands, basically. So, for 400 something, we'll have to set it to the center one, 310 to 640.
Yep, because that's a band, that's the frequency band. Oh, that's loud. Right, okay. I'm just going to turn the volume down a bit, because that is...
Exactly, yeah, you can do that.
Okay, now, how do we tune this in further?
Further towards you, you'll see a tuning knob.
Okay.
So you'll turn it to 493, and the white noise should actually go away.
Okay, I'm doing that now.
Also, a bit outwards from the kilohertz scale, you can again see a tuning indicator which will show you signal strength. Right,
so that's 500, that's 490, 480, so that's 490. Let me have a little play. Ah, right, I found it. The noise has disappeared.
Good. So now you should also see that your signal strength indicator for that has gone to the right.
Yes, so got that.
Now that we'll have found our frequency, we gotta listen to the Morse code to make sure that we actually haven't tuned into the wrong one on accident.
Right, I'm putting my volume up. I'm hearing some boops.
So the code we're looking for is short, long, short, short, pause, long, short, short. You can also find that on the kneeboard.
Yep, that was it. That was dot, dash, dot, dot, space, dash, dot, dot. That was exactly what we want for 2-3 long. 2-3 left, sorry.
And by the way, for people who are wondering how we got these pictures for the kneeboard, we're actually using Gospodin's nav keyboard, kneeboard. Maybe Cap can link it in the video. It's very useful for finding the Mig-15.
Roger, I'm kind of circling the name of it now. Yep, that's fine. Cool, okay, we're happy that that is the station for a 2-3 left at Krasnodar-Prshovsky.
Right, that just leaves one thing to do, and that's the mode switch in the outer right corner. It's again hidden by the golden valve.
Is this the idea? Oh, it was the Adf Panel. Back to what, sorry?
It's called the ARC5 function selector switch to comp, so it should be one left click from antenna.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a Pong. Okay, we're at comp now.
Now the difference is between antenna and comp. For antenna you can't actually use it for navigation, but you should be able to hear the signal more clearly. For comp is the actual mode that you're going to use while you're flying. So if you look at your dash now, above your HSI you will see the radio compass.
Roger.
This does not give you an absolute heading, it just gives you a heading relative to your aircraft. So from my position we gotta go slightly to the left. I guess for you it's probably slightly to the right since you're almost 90 degrees to me. Yeah, and with this we can go take off and fly over.
Right, so the radio compass is what's going to guide us to that ADF beacon that we've set up.
Exactly, it just gives you a direction, a range, nothing else.
Oh, interesting. Okay, you take the lead and we're off. How do we get the range? Did you say we can get the range?
Not really, no. I mean, there's technically a way to determine where you are if you want to triangulate by tuning into 2 different beacons and, crossing it in the map, but it's going to be a pain in the ass.
No. Alright, let's set off.
Alright, spool to 9000.
Fun.
And let me know when you're all set.
Set.
Release in 3, 2, 1, go.
Один, 02. Слёт запрещаю.
Rotate.
102. Слет запрещаю. 102. Сократ. Взлет по готовности. Отход по схеме на 300. Подавление. 743,76.
Alright, since you have your radio compass all set up and working, how about you take the lead and bring us to Krasnodar?
Roger. Stand by. Right, it wants me to turn left, son. Cap is turning left. This is the thing we're using, by the way, the radio compass.
One thing to note, before the radio compass gives you an accurate reading, you should level yourself out.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case. Right, I'm now following the radio compass. Oh, it's a little bit... It's got a bit of an attitude, isn't it? Okay. There we go. Right.
Yeah, also one warning about the radio compass. It can actually get somewhat influenced by things like mountains and some other effects. So it can have deviation of up to 15 degrees either side.
God.
But of course, the closer you get, it will still eventually get you where you want to go.
Right, it's telling me to go 5 degrees right now. I'm looking at that way and I don't see any airfield, but let's keep trusting it, I suppose.
As long as you have the right frequency, it will get you there safely.
Cap 5 degrees right.
I mean, to be honest, the first couple times I joined the server, I had no idea how to do any of this shit in the Mig-15. I didn't know how to do radio communication. I didn't know how to use the EAF. I was so lost. I took off, occasionally found something to shoot down, and then I was like, okay, how do I get home now?
Ah, right, I think we might be there. I think that's an airfield in front of us. Right, so it did indeed, so the ARC-15 ADF did indeed take us to 23 left at Krasnodar. Very good. Right, you come and take the lead and we'll go in for a formation landing to end the series.
Slower decreasing for 50.
Oh, the server's laggy as fuck, man. You're jumping all over the place. We're the only people in here as well. It's just so hard to set DCS servers up. Right, I'm on your wing.
You're out.
Get out.
Yeah, the server is sometimes populated, but not currently, obviously.
Cap, gear out and locked.
Confirm 3 greens. Might gonna throttle up slightly and turn base. Let's pop flaps to 20.
Flaps to 20. And there you are.
Flaps to 55.
Flaps full. Interesting approach.
And the threshold idle. Charles wheels down.
Goes down. That'll do the job. Right. Well, that terminates our Mig-15 stuff. So that what do we do today? The radio and the doodly what's it? The ADF beacon navigation.
Yeah. So one more thing to mention, maybe. If you do want to use it in the preset modes, it works almost exactly the same in terms of the initial setup. Except you'll have to set the homing switch to near. Select one of the 3 preset buttons, and you do not have to do any of the tuning stuff on the right side.
Roger.
Other than that, it's all exactly the same.
Lovely. Alright. I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you later.